From September 6, Red Purple Law and Enies lobby will be added to the banned card list. What it means for the English version of the game is that we can't play them on our championship qualifier and through OP08 meta. And just to make it clear, the cards are banned not because you or me are losing to Law or Lucci in our locals, it's because it was complete dominance in OP08 meta in the East. For those of you who maybe don't know yet, in OP08 it was basically Dog-Cat world. Dog being the Trafalgar Law leader and Cat being obviously Lucci. So obviously before releasing the new expansion OP09, Bandai took some actions to limit power of those leaders. And I agree with the bans from Bandai. I think they make a lot of sense, especially banning Red Purple Law leader. But let's have a closer look why these bans had to happen. In One Piece card game, in my opinion, we have two very strong mechanics that allow us to use our limited resources better. One of them is drawing cards and second one is removal. And not any kind of removal. I especially mean bottom decking, because we can play around KO effect, but there is no real counterplay to bottom decking. And RP Law has quite unique effect attached to the two really strong colors that are red and purple. Because not only we can remove opponent's character in the unique way by bottom decking it, we are also allowed to play one character with a cost 4 or less from our hand. So we have another leader band that has two effects in one, but in RP Law situation there was more, and that's the effect cost. Because if the cost would be pay 3 Dawn, it actually would be more fair than Dawn -3. Let me explain. Dawn is also the limited resource in this game. You can maximum have 10 Dawns on your board and you have only 3 possible states of the Dawn. It can be active, rested or attached. But when we have effects like the Law's effect, we can play around it a little bit, because we start using the Dawns that are rested or attached, and we already used them once in the turn, and now we can move them back to the Dawn deck, from which we will get those resources again in the next turn to have some additional effect. In this case, really powerful effect, removal and playing or cheating out the 4-cost character from our hand. But that's not all. Because of purple color, we not only have the characters that are minusing our Dawn, we also have characters that are ramping us up. So even though we are minusing 3 Dawn, if our 4-cost purple character is the one that can ramp us a Dawn, like Ein or Bonkley in OP07, or if we are lucky enough and our 5-cost kit sticks on the board, we are actually getting profit of a Dawn that comes back into the field unrested, and we can use it again. So we are exceeding the limit of 10 Dawns per turn, because if we have Kid on board, or maybe 2 of them, or even play the Bonkley, the Dawns come back unrested and we can use even more of them just by one simple leader's effect. So when we look at Trafalgar Law leader, we really need to look at the leader that in effect has 3 effects and not only just 2. Because minusing Dawn is really key cost here. That is more of the benefit if you build your deck properly than a downside. And here let me address once again, they ban the leader based on OP08 results. And let me explain. In OP07, sure, Law is strong if you high roll your Rages, if you manage your Dawns properly with your rampers and everything. If you high roll, you win every deck. But it's not always the case, and the bad Trafalgar Law players will find themselves spamming the effect every turn, playing the Gordons down, removing the opponent's characters that are maybe not needed to be removed yet, and be at the Dawn deficit. However, in OP08 everything changes with the release of the card Black Maria. For those of you that maybe didn't hear about this card yet, it's 3 cost purple character that is also a 2k counter, so already something really disgusting, that not only the utility card but also a 2k counter, and activate man once per turn. If you have no other Black Maria, add up to 5 Dawn cards from your Dawn deck rested. Then at the end of your turn, return Dawn cards from your field to the Dawn deck until the number of Dawn cards on your field is equal to the number of your opponent's field. I think this is the most broken card release in the OP08, not only because of the effect, but because it's released in purple color. And it's not only for the Trafalgar Law. I think like overall this card has a lot of potential to perform some disgusting combos. But because Trafalgar Law was already in a good position, obviously players start abusing him even more. And how can you abuse the leader like that using the card like Black Maria? I slightly give you a hint already. So the situation is that now in OP07, when you take a look at the Trafalgar Law lists, most of them play Queen and some of them play Trafalgar Law blocker. But there is small downside to these cards, because the cost of the effect is Dawn -1. So normally you don't want to play them in the wrong moment, not to be left out with the Dawn deficit. So you need to be really smart, or maybe have 5 cost kit already on board, or some good way to ramp to effectively play those cards. If it's not possible, then you are skipping your leader's effect and just play the character for the turn, because you are already reducing your Dawn count. And this is how you distinguish good RP-Law players from the amazing RP-Law players, how they manage the Dawn in OP07. However, in OP08, the biggest downside is that now anyone can be a great RP-Law player because of the Black Maria. So the point is, as early as your freedom turn, you can already play Black Maria, use the effect, get the 5 rested Dawns, then use your leader's effect. After the leader's effect, you can play, let's say, Trafalgar Law, the blocker, to discard 2 cards from your opponent's hand. And not only you already developed 2 characters on board, even though one of them has only 2000 power, but Black Maria must be removed because the next turn she will ramp you down again. So you can just spam those powerful characters with the Dawn -1 effects, because there is no downside. And the downside was planned to be the Dawn -1, but with the character like Black Maria, you are never in the deficit of Dawn. You see how stupid it gets, right? And not only that, sure, the card you can abuse. Some players said, okay, why not ban Black Maria, because it doesn't solve the issue. With the colors like red and purple that aren't that great in the monocolor yet, since OP04, to get a comeback for the red and purple colors, we need to print really powerful cards, maybe even power creep a bit. But you can't release powerful cards in these colors if you have leader like Trafalgar Law, because any red card or any purple card that is cost 4 or less that will be released in the future would be basically strengthening the strongest deck in the meta in OP08 going forward. That's why, in my opinion, and I think a lot of you agree with me, is that banning the leader was the cleanest choice, not to hold down the colors, because in red we have a lot of amazing leaders just waiting for a little bit of support, like Zoro or new Sanji leader, or even Shanks in OP09. And in purple also, purple is part of many really cool 2-color leaders that are strictly held back just because Trafalgar Law takes the whole pie for himself. Obviously, now we need to wait and see how the meta develops for us for the OP07 championship qualifiers. Reiju already in a good spot, especially with the Law out of the picture. but also in our OP08 how the meta will shape. It will be completely fresh, there is no reference from Asia, but also for Asia really interesting which leaders will be at the top in OP09. Maybe some usual suspects like already known Reiju, Blue Doffy with the starter deck, or maybe some new releases from the OP09 like Blackbeard, maybe even Shanks, or double color Luffy. And let me touch briefly on our championship qualifier. I understand that it's upsetting for the players that already invested a lot of money into Trafalgar Law deck and a lot of time to practice it, especially with the price of Gordon being crazy. But I think actually for the qualifier it's a good thing that we will have more or less fresh meta, or maybe not really fresh meta, but some more room to showcase the skill of the deck building. Because, you know, we always have this dispute that Asia is one expansion faster than us with the releases, so we can net deck from Asia. We have a lot of inspiration, we have a lot of great players doing coaching, giving tips, running Patreons. So it will be good to see and observe how the top players in English region can adapt. We already had similar situation with the bans back in the day when they ban a lot of red cards and players had to adapt on the fly. Here the stakes are really high, so if you can overcome it, you deserve to go to the Worlds. And don't get me wrong, they are Worlds, so it's not for the casual player like me or maybe you. This is really for the top of the top. So if you strive to be the best, just banning one leader and need of building another deck will not hold you back. I hope we can make it clear. That's why I'm also not happy with the qualifier being raffled, the tickets for the qualifier, but this is the topic for another video. Now let's focus back on the bans. So I think it's quite clear, Trafalgar Law had to be banned, not to hold back the red-purple colors, and don't limit Bandai with the character design for those colors. Moving on, we have Rob Lucci. Rob Lucci is not banned, but there is something disgusting about this leader as well. When they first showed this leader, I was thinking like, okay, but this is worse Sakazuki, but guess what? Soon after, the Sakazuki got banned, and apparently Rob Lucci started looking really good for any Sakazuki main or black player. So for the cards that make Lucci so disgusting is obviously Gecko Moria, but it's not the part of the ban if it's good or bad. What are my thoughts about this card I will explain in the future videos, but obviously he can bring back value like Rebecca staple of the black decks as well, but here we have the new card also from OP08 and I would like to focus on that. That is Jack. Jack is really polarizing card in OP08. This character has +4 cost, but obviously when it's on the field in your hand it's 7 cost. When you play him, he is whopping 11 cost, so not really possible to remove him easily based on the cost reduction. And activate main, you may raise this card, draw one card and trash one card from your hand, then KO one of your opponent's cost 3 or lower characters. So again, one effect that is in two parts. So first is obviously washing hands for some good cards, and the second one is the removal. So like I said, two strongest effects in the game in my opinion. And then another card that is also amazing, funny enough, it's also 2k counter like Black Maria. Obviously Black Maria steals the spot for the best 2k counter in OP08 or even card. But Who's Who is also strong, so on play you may discard one card from your hand, KO up to one of your opponent's cost 3 or lower characters, and then the trigger KO up to one of your opponent's cost 3 or lower characters. Quite simple, but again we have a removal built in the character that can also be the attacker, and here on top of that is also the 2k counter, and former CP9 tag. And you can say, okay, I don't see the problem with those cards. You need some cost reduction, also the Moria turn, you need to be a little bit lucky to set up the trash, and so on and so on. And I agree. But the problem is that Enies lobby solves this issue, and that's why I think it was the best target for the ban. However, I think they didn't ban black enough or restricted it, but like I said, let's speak about it in the next video. Today let's focus on the ban itself. So yes, Enies lobby is a good ban, and it was targeted perfectly to limit Rob Lucci. But don't panic if you like Rob Lucci. There is the list for OP07 if you want to play the Rob Lucci on your championship. If I remember correctly, Noel posted on Twitter the list built by Vespa that he was having a lot of success with. So if you are interested, check the post for sure, because the stage is not that necessary in OP07. In OP08, however, it was much different topic. The stage was quite important for Lucci for this stability of 3-2 cost every turn. So in total, with leader's effect, the 3-3 cost per turn. And we already know how strong Sakazuki was with the stage build. Here we have even stronger stage because it's -2 cost. So it was really easy to hit those thresholds to overtake the board. My personal opinion is that black is still not in the worst spot just by banning the stage. Let's see how meta develops in the West with the OP08 release. But like I said, OP07, I think Lucci is still in a good spot. Just modify the list a little bit, be a little smart about it. RP low obviously banned. Then moving on into OP08, probably we need to think a little bit more harder. What do we really want to play in the fresh meta for the West region? Because RP low ban opens a lot of possibilities for many other leaders. So maybe try something else. Maybe don't stick to Lucci in OP08 and search for something more spicy. But that's it for today. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think about the ban list? Is it good? Is it bad? What would you ban? And I see you in the next video. Bye bye.